Hi everyone, welcome to the show. I'm one of the hosts, Tom Leffler, and I have my co-host,
AD Fakarede.
and today we're going to talk about, what are we talking
We're
about?
talking about relationships. Specifically, we are going to be talking about how to acquire them in adulthood, basically, how to acquire relationships in adulthood.
Mhm.
That's what we're going to kind of unpack today. So appreciate you all for tuning in, and we're going to get right back into it. Tom, just to kind of lead us off, like as you look at your life, right? Now being in adulthood for a couple of years now. You graduated college how long now?
2018, so now it's 6 years.
6 years, wow. So it's
Crazy.
like you're far enough from college that it's not that you just graduated. You're close enough to retirement. You're closer to retirement than college, but that's an overstatement. But kind of as you've been navigating kind of adulthood, how's that been? Like in terms of like friendships and how's that changed over the years? You've noticed.
Great question. So, honestly, it was a lot more difficult than I realized, and I had the wrong approach to it. So I was very fortunate enough from high school and college that I had really good friendships, and I'm still friends with those people today. And I think it was friendships by proxy of just like you just see each other all the time, you're there together. I mean, you don't really have to make much of an effort because it's just like you're in school, you're in class, you're living with them in college, for example. So you're just with them automatically. And then outside of college, I went to school in Massachusetts, New England area. So all my college friends, they either stayed in New England area. None of them were like in Jersey, like within like an hour commute to me. So I kept in touch. I still see them, but it's not like this, like in my vicinity. So, and then adulthood, I was faced with things that like I wasn't used to dealing with, and I kind of isolated. I kind of wasn't like the person I am now, where I talk about stuff I'm going through and all that. It was the first time I was like dealing with problems for the first time in my life, like mental stuff, work stuff, like just real life stress.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring anybody into it. I just lone wolfed it and didn't add any really new relations to it, but I didn't lose the existing ones. I just didn't really work on fostering the existing ones, but I was just dealing with my own stuff, lone wolf, kind of just isolating myself. And I got to a point where I was tired of that. I'm like, I don't want to live like this. Life is all about connection, relationships, and the best things in life are with people. And I heard a really good quote. It's like, if you ever do anything pleasurable, like that you enjoy, do it, share the experience. So that could be, or for example, like with a woman making love, like it's better to do that with like a partner or your wife versus than you do it yourself.
Yes.
Or even it could be like little things like, I mean, we're not partiers, but like going out and getting a drink is better to do that with other people versus be isolated by yourself.
Or even cooking.
Or cooking, it's better to do a pleasurable experience with other people.
Yes.
It just creates good habits, and it's just a good thing to do, and it feels better. You don't feel like because isolated, and it's a weird thing. So if you're just going for pleasure all the time by yourself, it just it leads you down a dark path. And just like, so I think that's where I realize it's like, okay, the best experiences, the most joy you get are when you're in relationships. And if something good happens in your life, like the first thing you usually want to do is share it with somebody.
Yeah.
And so if you have no one to share it with, or you have no one that you like keep in touch with, and it's like, okay, I did this thing, or I accomplished this goal, I want to share this, or you acquired this and you want to do it with that person's like, when you're just doing it for yourself, it's kind of like, what are you doing it for? It's like, it's no fun, you get joy out of sharing the experience.
Yeah.
So for probably like 4 or 5 years out of college, I was awful at fostering new relationships. I maintained existing ones. I didn't like cut off ties with the people I wanted, but I also didn't do a great job for a while of like really working on those. But then I reached a point where like I'm like, okay, I got to make a conscious effort to foster relationships, and get out of my normal comfort zone, or be less like so dogmatic and so like one-dimensional in a sense. Like I was basically two-dimensional. It's either working out or work. That was it. I had nothing else going on. That was my life. Like it was either I'm working out or work, and that was it. There was no hobbies, interests. Like I was like, I'm either working or working out. That was it. Like there's nothing else. Like and it was like bland. I was like it did work, and I got to where I wanted to get to with those things, but I realized like it could be in the best possible shape, and like business is good, but like there's no fun. It's not enjoyable. And so I then probably like 18 months ago right around we kind of foster our friendship, I really made an effort to foster relationships. And so this is something that you're, I think, amazing at, just from like your charisma, your like joyful presence that you have that I remember from high school, that I kind of have naturally, but not really, because I get my default when I'm overwhelmed or like kind of thinking a lot about work. I kind of like put that to the side. I'm just like focused on myself, and I'm not like open and like willing, giving off good energy. Like, hey, like I'm a good person. I'm not like you know, like
yes.
So I realized like my own energy is important with that. So that's what I'm gonna segue to you now. How has relationships changed since college for you?
Definitely. That's a good question. I've always been a gregarious person, so I'm naturally very friendly. That's my my kind of disposition. So I have never strayed away from that. Obviously, there's periods in my life where I'm busy, but my default setting is just to be super nice and friendly to people. So I don't remember names very frequently, but I remember faces. In college, I made it a point just to know people. And then after college, I've continued that on, you know, to my wife's, you know, peril at many times, because, you know, we go out places and, you know, it's supposed to be a quick trip, ends up being longer because the clerk ends up opening up about her or his life, and I'm sitting there and I'm actually genuine to hear the end of the story, want them to do their point. But I think part of that stems from I think there was a story I heard. I think you've probably heard it. There's a guy, I don't know whether it's a Golden State Bridge or some bridge. He wrote a note saying that if someone says good morning to him,
He won't jump.
or acknowledge him, he won't jump. You've heard of this, right? And he went through the whole Golden State Bridge, and it was thousands and thousands of people went by him, and no one even acknowledged him, and he jumped. So I realized the power in just acknowledging people, and just like how important it is for people to want to be heard. And it takes like 5 to 10 minutes to ask a question past how are you. And I don't know whether you've noticed this one, but when you ask someone, how are you doing? Like, how's your day? They give you like the generic auto response answer.
Good, how are you?
But if you ask the second or third time, they know that you're actually interested, and they go deeper. And that's very important, you know, at least once or twice a day to do that with people, because it really lets off the steam, you know? Because it could be a very simple, so-and-so is really like blowing my gasket and I can't really take my relationship, blah, 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 blah. And them just saying it to you out loud and them hearing it, like, it's crazy what that does to them. And most of the time, it's something you can relate with. Even if it's not something you relate with, you'd be like, wow, that's really a lot. But I got to say, like, you know, Sid, I really appreciate the way you've treated me today, despite what you have going on in your life. And that could go a long way for someone. Mm-hmm. That's that little piece of positivity that they can really take into kind of their life in general. So, I don't know. I always have that in mind, that whole thing about that guy on the bridge. It's never really set right with me that I see myself as one of those people who would, you know, say good morning or whatever, so that person won't terminate themselves.
And now, is that always a mindset that you've had? Have you worked on it, been more conscious as
So
of late,
so
or
I think
is that your default?
Yeah, I've always liked people in general, but that definitely took it to the next step, because I really realized the importance of every interaction. Like, you know, you don't want to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Now, it's not in a way now that it's unhealthy that I'm just fixated over this. I'm just being myself. I'm just being my regular character. I think one of the things, because I was talking to a friend of ours earlier today, kind of before we went on the podcast, and she was asking my wife and myself what are things that we liked about ourselves, or things that attracted ourselves to one another. My wife mentioned that one of the things that actually attracted her to me was my accommodation. Like, I accommodate people. So she liked the fact that I didn't mind taking people in as my own and things like that. You know, sometimes, to her peril and detriment, because sometimes she just wants to relax, and I'm just like, actually, this is my characteristic. Like, we're going to have people over today. Or, oh, babe, by the way, so-and-so is coming over, and so-and-so, and so-and-so, and so-and-so. But I think I've done a better job now in being considerate of my wife as well, that, you know, either I cook or, like, you know, I'm not putting her in now in the position to have to host people. She can interact with us as she wants, because I know that she has her own schedule as well. It's not that she doesn't want to hang out with people, but she also needs her time to unwind, because once her job takes her 9 to 5, it's kind of like, I just need 2-3 hours. She interacts with us in her own way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I'm going on to that point now. So it's like you're respectful of your wife and her time, but also now with yourself, because honestly, it's not a bad thing. It's actually interesting. Like, I'm in a weird stage in my life where I have a lot of people like working, like relationships are coming to me like in a plentiful amount. It's momentum, like anything. You get momentum, you stack momentum. And now for the first time, like for this time of year, like my schedule's starting to get booked with people like during the week, reach out, like catch up, like do all that stuff, and it's a beautiful thing. But that's why I'm segueing to you. I'm not at the point where it's overwhelming, but with you, how do you navigate, like, okay, fostering really good relationships, being a husband, being a dad, being a financial advisor? Like, how do you, like, where does that fall, like, in your day-to-day? Because you probably, like, just knowing you and, like, the people you talk to, like, for example, like, you walk into a gym and you could probably just be there 3 or 4 hours and not even hit a workout, just bouncing and talking to people. So how do you, like, okay, respectfully be like, okay, like, let's end the conversation, or, like, how do you navigate that? Or, like, say you're checking out and okay, it's been 20 minutes, you're talking to them. How do you, like, be like, okay, I got to go, like, do something else? Like, how do you navigate those situations? Because I could see it could become, like, a whole day. You could do it. You have the skills where you could be talking to somebody just in your day-to-day life probably all day and just focusing on just conversations. And nothing else will get done because you're just such a good conversationalist.
Well, I think what's very important is understanding that there's certain objectives that need to be done in a particular day. So, I don't go about my day aimlessly. Like, the way I have my day, it's time blocked. So, like, for example, today I woke up, I knew in the morning I had to go to the gym. When I go to the gym, me and my workout partners were there for 70 minutes. We conversed with other people in the gym, but it wasn't very quick. It wasn't like long string conversations. It's just quick interactions.
Like surface level.
But again, if there was someone who wanted to talk with us, we don't interrupt what we're doing, because I don't have the luxury of time to now deviate too far from the plan. So if someone's having a conversation with me, I talk mid-set. Like, I don't care if I have 315 on my... I don't think you've noticed that. I can have 315 on my chest. I can have the full stack. I've learned to talk while exercising, because it's just... I have to get this done.
If you're not hearing him clearly, he says he is 315 pounds on his chest, and he's like, I could still have a full conversation with you.
Yeah, I could. I
can't even lift it 330 pounds. This guy's like, how's your day going? My day's going great. Just, pressing 350 cash. But, like,
literally. But you've seen it happen.
I know,
I've talked mid-set, because it's just like...
It's crazy. I couldn't do that, but it's cool. I mean...
So that's part one. So that's number one, is understanding the objective. You've been there, because you don't want to cut off people. And that can also be a good distraction for you to really get it deep into hypertrophy. Like, literally. Like, sometimes I literally lose count, because I'm just like, we're having a conversation. I'm like, yeah, that's interesting. 1 second. And I'm like, I'm going. And I forget, because the person continues to talk.
And so you're,
Yeah, so it kind of distracts me. Yep. Okay, so you have to make sure that you constant the movement. Like, and you set parameters like, yo, bro, like, this is great. Like, I'm still listening to you and I'm still talking, but we need to get this work done, because I want to make sure that we stay warm and we don't get injured. Mm-hmm. So don't be weird about it. Continue what you're trying to do.
But I think it's important. I think people feel weird that they don't want to bring it up. I think, like you said,
confront it head on.
It's just like, be honest. Be like, hey, like you know me, like, I'm honestly like, because like, you would stay up and play Madden until like 12 a.m. Of course. And I'm like, yo, I gotta go to sleep. It's just
which is no issue.
Because we're upfront. It's not like it's.
And I kept checking in on you too.
Yeah, I appreciate
I was like, hey, bro, like, you good? I know you have to go pretty soon.
Yeah.
But it's like, it doesn't mean we still can't enjoy that experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it is a good experience to enjoy that Madden.
And the thing is, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think
it was good for the amount that we did.
It was perfect.
Like 30, 45 minutes. That's perfect. Like, there's a law of diminishing return. After a while, it kind of trickles out.
Yeah.
Now there's certain times where me and Steve will go to 2 a.m. But recently, like, I think it was like 3 weeks in a row. But then the last time he came, I was like, hey, man, respectfully, bro, I'm going to go to bed. Mm-hmm. So, like, which is fine. Like,
just because in that way it doesn't make you feel weird or, like, not even resentment, but build some type of way. It's like, and you're like, I really don't want. We set the expectation to 2 a.m. at, like, the last.
It's not even an expectation. At that point, he knew that I'm down. I am down. But, like, I think. Because that's another thing, too, that I wanted to go into. Sorry for cutting you off.
No.
But it's like, if you're having the first reaction, like conversation with someone that, like, let's say Jim Bro, that you walked by for 2 years, you haven't talked, he gets 5 to 10 minutes of distraction. After 5 to 10 minutes, now you don't look at your clock too frequently, but in the beginning of interaction, look at your clock, get lost in the conversation, and look back down at your clock. After a certain period of time, like if you feel like he starts repeating the same thing over and over, or he's about to draw you to another thought, or you look down at your clock and be like, hey, respectfully, like I'm hitting chess today. You want to maybe hop in, or what are you hitting today? Because I want to be respectful of our time. Like, I'm really engaged in this conversation, but I don't want a situation where like my whole day is blown up. Like, I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think that's the mature thing, and like it's unless feelings get hurt in that versus
100%.
like it's like, oh, I just gotta go.
Yeah,
But it's like, hey, respectfully, like,
or you keep looking at your if you keep doing this.
I know those people. It's like awkward. It's like they're looking like, and like I was that person. It's like it's like I'm like, for when I was immature, I was like I'm like yeah, I gotta go. It's like first like, hey, like just respectfully, like. And I think that's good too. It's a good way how to end a conversation.
100%.
But I think a lot of people don't even know how to start a conversation. So I think the main thing is to start it, and it's a good problem to have if you don't know how to end it. And I say with the ending conversation, be direct, be respectful, and just be honest.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, it was great chatting with you. I gotta go finish my workout, or I gotta go run the work. Like, whatever you gotta do.
Or even if you really like the conversation, be like, what are you hitting today? Like, I'll hop in, because like you don't have to like go off your schedule a little bit. I know you're hitting legs today, or you're hitting chest today, and they're doing legs. Do the leg workout with them. It's going to be grueling, but you can enjoy the suffering. So there's a way for you to continue the conversation and still be proactive. There's we really need to think out the box when it comes to like relationships and stuff. Interesting enough, I had a quick question for you. I wanted to go back to your initial kind of response to the question. So like, given the fact that you went to school in Boston, what were your summers like? Like, did you stay in contact with people in the summer? Like, what happened when you'd come back home?
Oh, the funny thing was my friends from school, from college, they're like, college was that was like a vacation for me, and I was a straight A student, like a nerd, but it was a vacation from the summers, because summers was like hell for me, because it was just chaos pool work. So I worked every day. So like all my friends are like, oh, like school started, this is awful. I'm like, this is great.
I had to work.
No one's calling me. Like, I have a set schedule. No one's bothering me. Like, this is all I have to do is show up to class, work out. This is the life, guys. Like, what are you talking about? I'll sit in class all day. This is cake. I gotta learn stuff. I gotta work out. I gotta eat good food. Like this, it was a dream.
I never considered that.
Oh, my summers, like, and that's the thing. I don't think my friends realize. Like, I think they realized later on, but which is a good thing. Very early on in my life, like I never had a summer growing up. If I wasn't playing a sport, during the summer I was working. Like there was no holidays. There was nothing.
That's the expectation.
Yeah, it was the expectation. So. So for a perfect example, like my senior year, there's a senior week after graduation, and like all my friends are all excited, and I'm like, I can't stay. Like school's done, I gotta go back and help my dad. Yeah. And they're like, what? This is our senior week. Like this is like the last week, and I'm like, I gotta go.
And they're just gonna be drinking now.
Yeah, they're gonna be drinking, partying. I'm like, but like I know what my dad's going through right now with the business. Like it's the worst time of year. It's like right before Memorial Day weekend. I'm like, it's not even a question. It's like I'm like, I gotta go.
This has nothing to do.
And they're looking at me like I'm crazy. Like you're not gonna like this is last time we're gonna be together. I'm like, I gotta go. Like I know what he's going through, the hell that he's going through.
That's why we're friends, man. Yeah. It makes sense because like I shared in that same sentiment. My senior week was during nationals, so I qualified for 2 events: discus and hammer. The discus was my stronger of events, and I think it was like on a Thursday, and I still would have had like Friday, Saturday of senior week, but I still stayed for hammer because I was like, it's better to try to get 2 All-Americans, even though I knew I had hardly any chances at hammer. I was like, I'd rather be out there anyway.
But you went out, you gave your shot, you tried.
I got an All-American in the discus, which was great, but like that's the thing, man. I didn't see the point in me being there because literally, if I look back on it, and I never have a regret on that senior week because like. There's only nothing but negative scenarios that could happen because you think about a week of drinking, letting loose. Like I'm gonna end up hooking up with one of my friends or something like it. There's just something that's not gonna end well. And it's like when you look at the scope of life, like I enjoy the fact that some of my friends from college, because we were genuinely friends, they can still hang out with my wife, and there's no weird or awkward thing about that. I don't know. I feel like there's some power to that. The fact that that happened. But I don't know. People can look at it however way they want.
Mm-hmm.
But missing a week of binge drinking in the long run, I really don't care. Like I really did not feel like I missed out on anything. Because when I came back, everyone was in my room. They were like, they celebrated me. It was great. Like I had that night. I didn't go to bed. And then we had the graduation. And the funny thing is, as soon as graduation was over, I drove down to New Jersey with like 2 hours of sleep. I drove my whole family down. People were like, yo, where are you? I was like, oh, I'm in New Jersey.
You're ready for the next chapter.
I was, yeah, of course, bro. Like, let's go.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. And that's how I always felt like, you know, I was the business. Like, I was ready and, like, again, it was the harder route.
Yeah.
And actually, like, segue, but something I was thinking is, like, just choices we make, and like I realize a lot of my choices I consciously always choose the harder route.
Yeah.
Because I could have just like gone the route, done the corporate route, for example, for me, and just went out of the business and like could have not done it, and that would have definitely been an easier route.
Much easier.
But part of me, I at the time I just didn't do it. Honestly, I didn't have the selfish intent at the time, just for my family, just to help them. But it's just like interesting, like just going the harder route. Like again, it was probably easier for you just to hang back, binge drink. But it's like, no, I'm going to travel here, forgo the fun, short-term gratification, and go pursue something that's like challenging. Try to you did it in discus, and then try stay. Like, hey, I got one, but I want more.
Second.
Yeah.
And
that just shows a testament to you, and like the testament to where we are now in our life. And like
even the job that I decided to do, financial advising job is not easy, man.
No.
Like especially right out of college, and you know I don't come from wealth. Mm-hmm. Like my family is just
because most of those guys, they have a pipeline of all like country club connections,
and
they have like their dad's friends, or they have a whole connection.
That doesn't exist for me, man. So like, you know, even the very line of work that I went to is difficult in that light. But I do share that sentiment. But where I'm different is that like I've always had the entrepreneurial spirit. But the only issue is, or the entrepreneurial like mindset, but the only issue is coming from the background that I came from with my parents and very traditional. It's very difficult to sell them the idea of being a business owner or things like that right off the bat because it's not something they've experienced. Even though my mother owned a supermarket in Nigeria, which blows my mind. So my uncle, who knows me very well, you know, he said happy birthday to me this year. And he was like, yeah, man, like, I know, like, you've always, like, wanted to do a business. Like, how's that and all that stuff. I was like, you'll see. I'm going to get it done. It's just not
28.
It's not going to be done in the way that is conventional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you kind of have to check off certain boxes. And I have responsibilities.
I'll say you're different. I mean, you have a family, you have a baby,
wife, I have a daughter.
Yeah, so
like,
you need a certain financial cushion.
For now, and it's not even cushion. I just need to have certain things set in place. Because now that I have the house, the other baby coming, there's certain assets that are put in place. My wife is working now. She didn't have to work for a while. Now she wants to work, and she is working. And she's in a very lucrative path. So things kind of line themselves up. And now I'm just saving everything I have because at the end of the day, like when that opportunity arises, but more specifically, as I'm doing the things that I'm doing, I can carry everything along. I've always believed in multiple streams of income, and I think the sheer nature of what I do for work, given that it is a relationship-oriented line of work, I think it's very easy to now continue a lot of things in tandem.
No, I think it's amazing. And now I want to go into something we touch on again with the relationships. Now, do you like consciously work on like trying to foster new ones?
Yeah.
Or like meet new people? Like, or just like, are you like, I need to keep making connections? Like, what's your mindset around current relationships? Are you trying to grow it, maintain, scale down? Like, what's your current standpoint?
Just organic, man. I just continue to just be myself, and I really do think that human beings are relationship beings. So like, I have space now, so people are not gonna be on my head. If I have 10 people downstairs, they're not gonna bother me. Like, you know what I mean?
Tips though for listeners like on how to acquire. You're saying it's organic, but
yeah. So by organic, what I mean is that, like, for example, you know someone who's having a hard time, right? Let's say there's a family member or a friend of a friend who's going through a tough time patching their life, and you feel bad for them, right? And it's not really it's not a financial issue. They just need to be heard. just invite them over to your apartment or take them out for a slice of pizza. I don't recommend pizza.
Coffee.
I think you should do protein. I'm just joking. But yeah, take them out for coffee. Breakfast is super cheap. And just listen to them. Just be like, hey, like, you're going through a rough patch right now. And honestly, man, I've noticed it. And I just wanted to take this time to just kind of spend some time with you because I feel like I just want to make sure that you know that you're heard and people care. Mm-hmm. And after that first coffee time, it's not gonna be weird anymore. Just invite them over to your apartment. There's Netflix, like there's video games, like we can play Madden, like there's so many things. There's board games. Just spend time with people, and it's like when people have that, when you have that family bond, it just makes your whole human experience better. And your calendar should have certain points of it that's regimented. Like, I am a big believer that, like, if you're someone who have a lot of free time, that's a very dangerous thing. So, like, have people in your life, whatever you have in hobbies, whether it be board games or stuff like that, have, like, a game night. That's not weird. Like, have everyone bring something. Someone brings water, someone brings popcorn, someone brings something, and you guys just get together and just spend time with one another. And just have that be a regular thing. So everyone has something to look forward to. It could be a Friday night thing, a Saturday thing. Don't put too much pressure on it being consistent. But like it's super cool just to kind of have like regimented, fun human experience with people. And then when you're walking out your apartment, don't be weird with your neighbors. Say hi to them. Ask them about their day. If your neighbor has a really cool Scat Pack Charger, ask him about his car or her about her bag. Like, you know, if your neighbor had a nice bag, like talk to her about her bag. Be like, hey, that bag's like really nice. Like, where'd you get that from? Like, that's awesome. Like, I really like your sense of smell. Oh, where do you do your makeup? Like, what kind of makeup do you use? Like, talk to your neighbors because it's so weird. You see human beings walking down the steps, they see each other, and it's just like they just walk by each other. And they've been living beside each other for years, and it's like, you don't have to like be best friends with your neighbors, but there's nothing wrong with developing relationships with the people around you because loneliness and isolation, it kills a lot of people.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, so that's what I meant by organic.
Yeah.
Like, don't force it. Just let it come naturally.
But you do, I would say, force yourself to make the first move in a situation. It's not force yourself when you're talking to somebody and, like, if it's not vibing, don't, like, try to, like, where you get your socks, like, you know, like don't, if it's not flowing, don't force a gnat. I would say for a lot of people, and me included at times, like force yourself to.
That's your point.
Like if you see something like, hey, that person's got cool shoes, like go up and tell them they have cool shoes.
Literally, and
it doesn't. It's not a weird thing.
It's not weird.
Just like, hey man, that's cool shoes.
Like, wow, those are really nice.
And
shoes.
that person be like, oh, like sweet. Like obviously, if it's cool shoes, you probably appreciate it. So it's like, I think it's more so forcing yourself to make the first move.
Yes.
And then from there, once you make the first move, if it's not vibing, don't force it then. Let that be organic.
Yeah.
But I think people have to force themselves to make the first move.
Yeah.
Just take the first step to comment on the shoes.
You're right.
To say hi to the neighbor, to notice they got their hair done. Whatever it could be.
Yeah.
I think it's taking the first move. And then from there, if it's not flowing or organic, then it's, you know, don't try to force it like and be creepy. I think it's force the first move, see something that interests you or something you could comment on. And make them feel good about themselves in a genuine way, and then take it from there. I think the hardest is for a lot of people. For you, it's probably not because you're just having it naturally.
Hard at all.
But for me, it doesn't come naturally, so I have to force myself to make that first move. Like, oh, hey, man, I like your hat or whatever.
And another thing to look at too, I remember this actually. If you go on Google and you just type in free events around me, there's a ton of people who put events on Eventbrite, and they're free. Some of them may have $5 admission or $10 admission. It could just be like Pokemon meetup, yeah. Pokemon collectors galore. Whatever you want to do, like it's hydration is key. Water specialists come talking about their deal.
Or there's like a biohacking group.
Biohacking group. There's so much stuff.
Yeah,
like going on around you. Like our running groups or walking groups. There's so much stuff going around.
Yeah.
So like that's another like very easy way to be involved in the community. Community service is also really good as well, but I think the Eventbrite is really cool because you can meet some really cool people.
Because usually people on there are open and
100%. And then when you go to those events, just don't be weird about it, but just be like, I'm going to share my LinkedIn, I'm going to share my Instagram, or I'm going to get 2 Instagrams, or I'm going to get 2 LinkedIns from 2 people. Simple. And it's like, if you do that twice a year or 3 times a year, you'll be surprised how far you go. Another way to make friends is within work. Like you're already in the trenches with these people, so it's like whether it's you have your own business or work, like those are people around you. Figure out people who have common interests with you. Like I mean, obviously don't be worried about it, but like find people who have common interests. The gym is also a very easy place to have friends because there's people who work out and they do their own solo thing, and they would love to have a workout partner. Like some of my best friends that I've established in life have been through the gym.
Mm-hmm. And it's also, there are a lot of similarities built into that. As we discuss, like with the approach people at the gym, it's like, okay, if you see someone that's always at the gym, you're always at the gym. Okay, this person's got consistency. They have discipline. They have work ethic. So it probably carries over into other aspects of their life. So you're probably aligned. It's more likely than a random stranger per se.
100%.
So it's also realizing like even in your work domain, like you're doing the same. You're in the same work environment, similar schedule. So it's like maybe you don't necessarily like vibe with somebody that you're like going someplace you usually don't go, and like you're trying to start a conversation with somebody. It's like, but that's not your normal ground. Versus like if you're always going to a volleyball league, like, and you love volleyball, it's like most likely you'll vibe with the other people at that league.
You brought up a very good point. So that goes back into the organic. So like a lot of times people, especially people who are like looking for like relationships, like they're trying to find a significant other and things, they start doing things that are out of the realms of what they're actually interested in. But what in reality you're doing, if you're in a place where you don't want to be, you're going to be around people that don't share common interests with you. And I'm not saying that opposites don't attract, but like there's better ways to go about, there's more organic ways to go about what you're looking for.
And that's like me finding a partner in a bar. Like that's not my scene, and like a lot of people like it's like.
And then you get frustrated when you get in a relationship where that partner always wants to go to the bar.
And it's like, well, you met her at a bar. I mean.
And then the person gets frustrated for pretending to not want to go to the bar when they want to go to the bar.
Yeah, so it's like you said, it's kind of you're trying to. I think that's the big issue now. A lot of people they don't realize like, okay, it might be harder and take longer to find a significant other doing whatever, something that interests you, because
it's worthwhile.
But a bar per se, more likely chance they are single or whatever, they're looking for some connection per se. But if that's not your thing, like you said, it's not gonna be. It could be.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not. Who knows? Like it could work out, but it's most likely if that's not your vibe and you're going there trying to find somebody and like that's their vibe, it's like, okay, it's gonna be, might be a conflict of interest here, because it might start dating and you're like, I don't want to go to the bar anymore. The only reason I went to bars to meet a girl.
You, exactly.
And she's like, or he or she's like, well, I love the bar. Like I love to party and drink.
And then you start having that resentment, and then the relationship ends up breaking up. So like, interesting enough, I think like the dating apps are interesting in that like they could be a process to assist in me finding people, but I actually have a contrary view to dating apps, right?
Let's hear it.
So I think a more effective way to use social media in terms of partnerships is someone looking within themselves and being like, who did I have a crush on in middle school or like high school or something like that? Like, let's say if you're ready for like dating and stuff like that.
Interesting.
And I think you should start talking to people that you've already met before.
And you had a connection with.
And if they are single, you go out to eat, go out to lunch. Like, I think that's how social media should be used rather than just getting some absolute rando. Because the issue with the rando is that there's parts of their life that you haven't really developed. But like someone who's known you in the past or you've known in the past, I feel like that the relationships in many regards, because that's when you were still being formed, it's possible that there could be some kind of affinity there as well. So I really do think I think that's how social media should be used as it relates to dating and things like that. If you remember, there was someone who you felt like there was out of your league, or it's very memorable from you in middle school. Like as you think about those years, those middle school, or high school or whatever, like your school time, and you're like, yeah, that person, I can't get them out of their mind. Just hang out with them. And the funny thing is that they might not actually be the one that you end up like.
Friend?
Exactly. You understand now.
Yeah, and I think
and I feel like that's so much more organic than just trying to hit up some random that you have no idea their past. There's no way to vet them and
I think that's so. And I mean, dating apps are great for some people, and I think
don't get me wrong.
And I honestly not the last two, but a lot of my past relationships were dating apps. The last one actually was a referral. Like that was.
It was a little bit more successful.
It was way more. It was so much easier.
I like how you said referral.
Referral.
The referral. But referrals work. But that's how they used to do it back in the day.
It's such a better, and so I would challenge.
They're people. Like, oh Tom, I know how you are. This person, like,
yeah, like you're lying. So I would recommend people to, if you don't have any people that are like friends or know anybody, like, okay, that's a sign you need to get more friends.
Yeah.
That they're not referring you, or maybe you're not a great person. You need to build your character.
Sure.
If like you see like you have a lot of friends and like they have whatever, and you see like possible, and they're like, oh, like I'm not recommending this person. It's like, why? Like, why would that be a good fit? It's like, oh, like so so it might be a sign that you need to work on yourself a little more.
Yes.
But I think people, I think that the best way, the old school way is probably the best way, like for a meaningful connection.
Recommendation,
like a
because you don't know how jacked up and raggedy you are. But your friends do.
They know, yeah.
And they know, or rather, they know your strengths and weaknesses in a way that you know.
You might not.
And then they also know that person too, so it's like, it doesn't. I'm not saying that's going to be a hit off the park,
but it's much better.
It could definitely be. I think it's more organic. It might be a little weird, be like, oh well, we're going out to eat because our friends think they.
I think that it's better than a random stranger you know nothing about.
I personally feel like that
would
be a better method. Now the caveats about that, obviously as your friend and you introduce a friend to another friend, there could be some strain if it doesn't end up working out. So that's whereas you have to be kind of like an adult and be like, hey, listen, like I'm not recommending that you should date Tom or you should hang out with him, but I think you guys should at least grab a meal together. I think you guys I think you guys share some things in common that I think it'll be interesting for you all to just share a meal together. I think you're at certain points in your life. Now, whatever comes of that, don't come now complaining to me and telling me Tom did this, and Tom, don't come to me telling me that she did this to. Whatever that happens between you all, that happens between you all. And my relationship with both of you, I'm not picking sides with anyone. You are both my friends. So I think that's very important too, to set the foundation.
I think it also forces the two people that they treat each other respectfully, because then they know if they don't, it's like well, he did this or she did this. It's like, whoa. So I think it also forces a certain level of respect for the other person, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I do think the referral process, and especially again, we're guys, so I guess if I'm going on a blind date with somebody, like on a rando online, I'm not necessarily scared. I'm a big guy. Yeah. But for a girl, it's terrifying. They know nothing about this guy. Literally. He could be a creep. Like, he's just, you don't know anything.
Yeah, you could be getting catfished.
Yeah, like you have no idea. Versus a friend, you're like, okay, he's vetted. He's a normal guy, or he's not a creep. Like so I think, especially for girls, I feel they feel like 10 times safer if they have a referral versus going with a random guy on like Bumble or Hinge or Tinder, and they're like, okay, I think he's this guy. I know nothing about him. Like, and they're texting their friends, like, hey, I'm meeting him here. Like, I'll text you every 10 minutes. Like, if you don't hear from me in 2 hours, he killed me. Like, but that's what goes through a girl's head.
Right. You're right.
As guys, we assume like we're whatever. Like, we're big guys. Like,
what is this little one doing?
Like, we don't care. But if you again come out of your own perception and like look into a girl's perspective, they're like, okay, this is a big guy. He's strong. Like, is it even him? It could be another guy. Like, there's so many scenarios that go through their head. So I think you have to respect the girls in that, and just make sure like it's a safe environment for them. But I do think that's the best method. Is like a friend or friend,
sense,
or even like someone like you work with, or like people,
or even
like
your neighbor, your
day-to-day
that
life.
older neighbor that has a nephew or niece. He has a niece,
And I think that's also good at
by nephew or niece, I mean someone who's obviously of your age, not like a child, but
like foster relationships. Like, you never know. Like, why am I gonna go talk to this 6-year-old man or 6-year-old woman?
That could be the very
they have a daughter, or a niece or nephew, and they'd be like, for me, I play pickleball with these old people, and they're great. I love it, and like maybe they have a niece or nephew, and be like, oh, like and so you never know.
And that's another thing too when it relates to relationships is there's this concept in East Africa. I studied East African studies in college, and there's this concept of wealth in people. So people talk about monetary wealth and having money or having possessions, but there's this concept in East Africa called wealth in people, meaning it's actually more important to know have deep connections with a lot of people than to have any material things, because in having deep connections with a lot of people you'll want for nothing, because there's always going to be someone in your network who has an access what you lack in that particular area. And now it's not now a situation whereas the only reason you have friends or to have things from them or barter with them, you genuinely care about them. And because you care about them and you all have affinity for each other, it's unspoken that you all care for one another, because you genuinely do that with them, because it's part of the network, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So that's another concept that I really do embody.
And I think going along with that concept, I think that's why in the Western world, so many of us are depressed, on SSRIs, miserable. Because I think you'd be surprised how many people are on antidepressants or just unhappy with their lives. Yeah. And I think it's because we're so disconnected.
Yes.
Especially new research just came out about remote work.
Yeah.
And how people are more depressed than ever because of the remote work, because of COVID, and like they never went back to the office, and they're like, loneliness is at all-time high, depression because they're not going in the office, they're not interacting with people, they're just isolating themselves. Yes. They're getting Uber Eats, they're not leaving their house for anything, you know. Crazy. And it's very sad. And I think people don't realize like why they're so upset is like because they're probably not having any of this
human connection. Yeah.
And just my own story, like even myself, like Tony Robbins says this: you're only depressed when you're thinking about yourself.
100%.
Because if I'm fully engaged and present with you, I can't be depressed.
Because you can't think. You don't have the concept. No. Or even if you're looking forward and expecting our meeting too, there's something to look forward to. There's something to get your mind. It's like, oh man, that guy just cut me off. Oh, who cares, man? I'm gonna go hang out with AD right now.
Yeah, and I think that's also a testament to more, along with your hope and faith. I don't think you ever really experienced like the bouts of depression, because like just hearing your interaction, like you're concerned about how the clerk's day was when you're checking out. You're concerned about this person, you know, because you're always not focusing on AD. You're like, okay, how's this person doing? Like, how can I brighten their day? Like, you're always doing that. Yeah. And I think adopting that mentality will help them, but selfishly help you more.
100%.
And I've noticed that with myself is when I am outside of myself, pouring into other people, helping people, doing that, it's non-existent. Like, because I'm not thinking about me. It's like, how can I help AD's brighten his day, or how can I help this? And even for example, like today, like I posted something on my Instagram, and somebody, again, we were best friends in like middle school. He reached out to me and he's like, hey, like this actually really resonated. Like, I'm going through something right now.
Wait, what was? Oh yeah,
yeah. He was like, he's in it right now. I said like, yo, like I was back and forth. I'm like, let's schedule a call this week.
That's amazing.
I haven't seen him in a couple years.
But that's how you do it, though. Like, that's very important.
And like, I'm looking forward to that.
It's like in that 45-minute to 2-hour call, it's so important to just hear him out. You know, just like
let him be heard.
100%.
Yeah, and like just
you know that he knows he can confide in you.
Mm-hmm. And it's also me being, I guess, open, vulnerable, whatever, or just authentically. Like I posted like it was a page of a book I was reading from the book I keep recommending, The Mountain Is You.
Yeah.
This book is like killing it.
Yeah.
And so I posted it, and like he replied to it. He's like, wow, like this, I'm like, I thought he read it because he's like, this really resonated with me, and like I thought he was talking first. I hadn't read the book. He ordered the book like just then, and so I'm looking forward to a conversation and like hearing him out, like letting him be heard. Yeah. And I think also for me is using the pain that I experienced as a light for others. Like, and like I think people, if you've been through hardships or whatever you go through, I think the best solution is to use it to pour back into people. Like, okay, I did this. That's why I do on the podcast. Is like, I did these things. I thought it would bring me here, and it didn't bring me here. Actually, brought me the opposite.
Yeah.
And then, so my goal with this podcast is to help people. Like, hey, yes, financial success is important. Yes, physical health is important. But just as, if not more important, is relationships.
100%.
And like fostering that relationship with yourself, with others, with God, like those relationships. And then you could build, and then if you have a good physical body, it pours into the other relationships. You could, the finances, you could give and do things you want to. So they're all intertwined. But I think if you're just being selfish and focusing on your own physical health and your own financial health, you become depressed. And I think that's why a lot of people that are like hyper successful, they are miserable, because they just were so focused on themselves climbing the mountain solo that when they look down, like behind them, there's no one else with them on the mountain.
Golly.
So they didn't take anybody with them, because you do have to. There's a certain level you have to go to get to like the top of the mountain, but it doesn't necessarily mean to do it alone.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm realizing, and like that's why it's hard for me, because like my default is just like isolate and just go like
disassociate, lock up.
And even like, for example, like I'm having a little struggle with the Apollo Fuel, like just like some website stuff, and like in the past, like I've just like tried to figure out myself, but I'm reaching out to my network, like, hey, like you guys, like, you know anybody a good website guy? Because like I'm just like going Google, do my own research, so like I'm trying to lean on other people I know and help them out,
which is very good. Like there's strength in who you know, like rather than you just weaning away your life doing that. What does escaping success mean to you?
That's a deep question, my friend. I guess escaping success means to me is to reach a level of success where I'm actually fulfilled. It's not just success on like paper, like these goals here, like okay, this. I think it's reaching a level of success that might not be the normal route that like society or our own preconceived notions are. Escaping that and finding a version that will actually fulfill me.
Wow.
Because I was so like society, whatever's like, okay, you have like do this so you accomplish. I wrote down like these goals, you know. And where I was so like dumbfounded, like flustered, like whoa, wait, no one said this. Like okay, I have this list of goals, like. This is checked. These are pretty close. Like these are coming in the next like few years. But I'm no happier. I'm not fulfilled. You know, I'm not doing anything. So it's like, okay, I gotta rearrange this. Like I gotta rewrite this story or this narrative or reevaluate how I view success. And so I escaped my normal preconceived notions where I was success on paper of whatever it was, like a physical goal, financial goal, partner goal. Business goal, but it's like I'm escaping that for a more fulfilled goal. 100%. But those are coming along. But it's like I want it in the way where I'm gonna reach those and not be miserable and like unfulfilled. So I'm escaping the normal success of like what society says, like okay, have $1 million. Like that's like the regular. That's like a slap. It's like slap a tag on it. $1 million. Be a millionaire. You're successful.
Could you imagine? It is like that's the furthest thing for the truth.
But
the furthest thing.
Let's say hypothetical. The path I was going. Okay, you have $1 million. You're single. You have really no friendships.
But what does that mean? Like you know what I mean?
You're working 12 hours.
$1 million. Like what does
for
that?
For 7 days a week just to maintain this like lifestyle. And like, okay, but what is that?
Like what have you actually done? Like, it's like very interesting but that's what's fed to us through like subliminal messaging and everything.
Now back to you, my friend. What does escaping success look like to you?
So like when I look at Oxford Dictionary on escape, so escape means to break from confinement or control, elude or get free from, succeed in avoiding or eluding something, fail to be noticed or remembered by, to interrupt. So like when I think of like interrupting, but specifically when I think of like success or like escaping it, I think of like literally escaping the confinement of success, like leaving like
the norm,
leaving the norm of what that is. And you know, when you also think of like a gas or a liquid, like a liquid can't necessarily, it could seep out of a room, but a gas could escape a room. So like the whole idea of like there's no fixed definition of success for me, right? But I know that it has a form. So for me, when I consider escaping success, I understand that as long as that I'm right with God and I'm right with the people around me, that allows me to operate outside of the confines of whatever success might be at that moment. And the second part of it is that success itself doesn't matter. So like at the very basic fundamental, like kind of watering it down to like a very simple sentence, escaping success means to me that success for me is not caring about success. Quite simply.
And I think that also goes into letting go and surrendering.
Literally.
It ties perfectly into that, because like you look at all these like Eastern traditions, all these like ancient texts, and like they always say is like when you reach like real bliss is like where you just You're like,
relaxed.
you're relaxed. You're letting go. You're just here and now and happy with that. Because like, if you're always chasing success, you're never here. You're always there. You're always 10 steps ahead.
It's gonna keep running from you.
And as I realized, and that's something I came to like realize, like, progress is happiness. So you're always going to be moving forward. You're either growing or dying. There's it's two ways: either growing or dying. You're never stagnant. So I realized that I'm always trying to grow.
Yeah.
But if you're always growing and looking towards success, you're really not being successful here and now.
Exactly.
So even if like you reach your success, you're gonna be like, what's the next thing? And you're always there. So I think your analogy of like, it's actually not chasing it. It's actually like just being. Like
literally,
just, being like, and it's hard, and it sounds so simplistic.
Yeah.
But it's hard because like, as humans, we're three states. We're either in the past, or the present, or in the future. And majority of the time, you're either in the past or the future.
Yeah.
And if you're in the past, you're depressed. If you're in the future, you're anxious. If you're present, you're not either of those things.
Yeah. Very few people operate in present, and the importance of being present is that the next moment is not guaranteed to you. And there's a lot of people who woke up this morning, and I'm not saying this to condemn them or like to say that we're better than them, but they're not alive right now, and they had plans for 5-10 years from now.
They had their 10-year
Death
goals.
respects no man or no woman. So like, being present and enjoying the time that you have with people is so important. And even that excellence in understanding the value of time, it makes you understand when you set an appointment. Like, for example, today we set an appointment to meet at 7:30. I showed up at 7:37. It's not a big deal that it was 7 minutes late, but I respect your time, and I expect the time that we would have spent here, because that 7 minutes cut into our podcast. That 7 minute cuts into us rushing, spending time with the dog. That 7 minutes cuts into potentially even us having like a debrief after the podcast. So it's like, it's just understanding that like that 7 minutes that I didn't make a good account of actually end up taking away from my time from you. So that's why I was sorry. Mm-hmm. It's not really about, oh man, like for 7 minutes, because that in the light of things that doesn't matter. But it's that time being spent together in light of all the other things we have going on in our life. So.
But then that's also looking in the past now.
No, so that's a very good point. But the reason why I wanted to bring that up was because there's this. Just because you're present doesn't mean you shouldn't understand the importance of the relationships you have. That's where I brought that up. So like, again, when you set a time with people, show up there. Like, you like schedule your day. Like, if you want to just dilly-dally for most of the morning, tell someone, hey, listen, I'm going to be around there around 8 or 9.
Be up front.
Yeah, 8 or 9 p.m. Like, so that they can be present, because it's hard to be present. Let's say, for example, you told me you're going to be here at 7:30, and you end up showing up at 9. It's going to be very difficult for me to be engaged in conversation or anything I'm doing, because I'm always going to be like, oh, he's at the door, or I can't be upstairs. Like, oh, was that him at the door? So like, that's what I meant. Like, it affects
your current present.
Your current present if you don't set everything, like put everything in place and respect people's time. Yeah,
and I think that's relationships. Boundaries is
so important.
And I think for personal
and time management,
personal, like intimate, and I think I was guilty of this. I don't know if this ever happened to you. Like, I'll tie into the boundaries. Like, when you're first starting a new intimate relationship with somebody,
spending all the time,
like, and like you want to. It's fun. It's exciting.
And then all of a sudden you just go regimented again.
And they're like, whoa,
that's the issue.
Whoa. So I would
you
say,
should be up front from the beginning. Be like, oh, listen,
I do this. I wake up at this time. I go here. Like,
but hey, listen, like, I'm willing to just like, bro,
we gotta compromise.
We need to get to know each other. So like, I just want to be upfront with you. Like, my calendar is going to change drastically come a month or two from now. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you this because I really care about you.
Mm-hmm. And it's like me, the pool season. Like, and I tell you that. It's like, hey, there's no winter. I can see you, but like,
and it's fine.
But
even now, we still saw each other during the pool season. In the light of all of that, it's not like we. It just has to be strategic. It's like at the gym, and then at the gym we have to boogie out. Like, your appointments. It's take precedent,
But it's just, again, being upfront and honest with you. Like, hey, like, now I could like hang out, dilly-dally. Like, you're the one who's got to go with the wife and stuff.
100%. It's so funny.
Yeah, but it's good. It's also, we're upfront.
We're also seeing each other a lot more frequently.
Yeah,
so
awesome.
Before, you just used to be like, all right, Saturday time block. unlimited time for Tom. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But now that we're seeing each other more frequently, it's actually easier to be like, all right, man, we're gonna have to put a pin in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, time is super important. And like, it's so interesting where this podcast went. I actually have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So as you kind of like observe the way that you're present now, what are some things that you've noticed have been really, really, really positive effects in you pressing into relationships, really being present when you're talking to people? Like, what are some things that you've noticed, like, in your life, like, since you've been kind of embodying that?
It's funny you say I'm getting chills thinking about it. I've noticed just like we talked about how I noticed like when I was in high school and moments in college, like when I'm present, I am giving off good energy. I'm like, if I'm present, I'm not thinking about my problems. I'm not thinking about everything. I'm not have a dark cloud over me, which I think people really do sense. And I'm being there, engaged. And like when I'm present, I know like at my core, like I'm interested, like I'm smiling, I'm like engaging, like asking good questions, like making the person feel heard, like giving them a cool compliment. And so I've noticed with the presence, it is I'm getting people's numbers at the gym, like guys' numbers, like
everybody,
and even people. By me being more present, it's also, I think, giving people and me being present and also vulnerable is giving people the space to be open and vulnerable back to me, and just more authentic, real conversations with people where they're like, wow, like I've never told anybody this before, or like, wow, like yeah, like people I haven't seen in years, and like I'm just rekindling relationships, like wow, yeah, I haven't told anyone, or I only told these people that like, and so it's. I think when you're actually fully there and they sense your energy, you're fully present, I think it gives people like, oh wow, he actually is interested in me, and he's like, he cares, and like I'm also being real with them, and like I'm not judging, like and like I went through this, but I'm noticing people by being extremely present, they're like, oh, like we should like hang out, like they want to see you again, they look forward to seeing you, like oh, like it's Tom,
like safe space, you're a safe space,
they're like oh, we like can see each other again, they feel like
the refuge. They feel the refuge. Yeah. Like they literally feel safe in that time and space.
And if you're really present and you're like give off good energy, people today in today's age, they are craving connection.
You're right.
They're craving it. And again, most people are weird, don't want to make the first step. But if you're generally interested, give an authentic compliment, like you'll be surprised at feedback, because like people are really like at their core, they want you want connection, you know. And it just in today's world, it's just not programmed in us that like to go out of our way to say hi to somebody or actually have a conversation. Like I've noticed, especially in the Northeast, it's not really that. But if you go down south, but like Texas,
oh, they love it. They're just like, oh, how you
like 40-minute conversations. Check it out.
How you doing, Tom? How's everything going today?
And like, where are you from?
Yeah,
like, and
that's a nice truck you have out there. That's a new Silverado. Like they're like very like.
Slower. I think we're just like, boom, I gotta go pick up the kids. I gotta go to work. I gotta do this.
And there's a hardness in the Northeast too.
You're
waiting in line for something. Someone gets in front of you, like, hey, who wants something? Exactly, cuts you off and do everything. I had another question for you actually. So in light of what you said, that it's difficult, like you have to force yourself to kind of like initiate and stuff. What can you tell your younger self? To like, what can you tell your younger self in terms of like the benefit of initiating that would get your younger self to have done more initiating in terms of talking to people?
You'll have more self-confidence in yourself. Like you'll feel better about yourself because like you did something you didn't want to do. Like your gut jerk reaction, like oh, I don't really want to go over with them, but it's like okay, we're doing it. Like it's just like like you're in control. You go. So I would tell myself build self-confidence. It also brightens your day, because like you get outside of yourself, you get interested in someone else. So if like you're having a bad day or whatever, your mood improves. So mood, self-confidence, and also I think it's like connection. And like you might foster, like you see that person at the gym, maybe you say hi to somebody, and like it leads into other areas of life, because if you walk into a gym and like some guy like across the way sees like this guy just walked in the gym and said hi to 5 people. He's probably like a fun guy to talk to.
Yeah, exactly.
So he might come to you and be like, hey, bro, like, what's up?
100%.
So it's like, it's just a cycle. Like, it feeds its momentum.
It feeds itself.
Momentum.
Right,
it's like, it's like, oh, like, this guy, like, he walks into the gym and, like, 6 people know him. It's like, okay, so he's probably, like, a nice guy. And that's how I inferred about approaching this one guy who had all the followers. It's like, I see he's always talking to somebody. So I'm like, oh, he's an open guy. And he was a great guy. So it's like, just by they see you're open, receptive, you have connections, you're saying hi, smiling, like that stuff. It would also encourage somebody to initiate it with you.
You're right.
Because they see your energy, you're receptive, like you're warm, like you're not like, hey, like don't
talk to me.
Like, I gotta go.
Always smiling, man.
But like smiling, open, like eye contact, like
involve people in conversation. Sometimes we're having conversations in the gym. We just pull the guy into conversation because you know he's listening.
Yeah, and they like that because like they're seeing our energy and we're having a great time. We're 100%. Shooting the like we're just like
breeze,
we're and like people love that. And they're like, I want to come in on that. It's fun.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a momentum thing.
It is.
And I think the hardest thing is like anything, it's starting.
Yeah.
So
but once you start moving, you overcome that inertia. It does all the work.
Mm-hmm.
It literally is a self-sustaining mechanism.
Yeah, and I think the also thing is like don't beat yourself up. If like again, when I was younger, I was like stutter or like I'd be like nervous. Like I still sometimes get like sweaty hands. Like I'm talking to somebody, I'm nervous about shaking their hand because like I get sweaty hands. So it's like you gotta realize, own it. So if like someone goes to shake your hand, your hand's like, hey, sorry, bro, my hand's sweaty. Just like, or go for a fist bump,
or just like
or do that, give a fist bump. But just own it. Own it. Be like, hey man, I got like whatever. I get sweaty hands. I'll just give you a fist bump.
Exactly.
You know, just
don't be worried about it.
Don't be like the whole time you're talking to this person. Like I hope he doesn't shake
my. Because you just miss out on the whole because you're not present.
Mm-hmm. And that was me all the time. Because
I get so self-conscious and everything. It's like just be.
We're humans, you know, and that's
be.
That's it. And just like you realize, like if you're just really there, you're engaged in the person, like. Even if you shake their hand, your hand's a little sweaty, they're not going to think it's...
So what?
It is. Unless you're like pouring sweat, maybe it's like just go for the fist.
Literally.
You know, just be
we're human beings, not human past or human futures.
Yeah. So I think, and also you got to realize, it's always preached a lot, but like people think a lot that they care what say... AD,
what I say.
For example, say AD was walking in a gym and he stumbled and like people saw it. People think that like AD, just hypothetically, you think that every day now they think of AD stumbling.
No one cares.
No one cares. Because we're all self-obsessed with ourselves. So like you do one thing that's like kind of stupid, no one cares. Like they might laugh for like 5 minutes and it's like, well, I don't even know what that happened. And so, but we dawn on that.
And then they're like, I gotta change the gym. I can't go there again.
Yeah.
It's terrible. Yeah,
but it's just like I realize, and just like again, we're all human, and just own it. I say to tell people, just own it.
Own it.
Own it. Like, hey,
but it's hard to own it for some
hard.
people. Yeah, but it's like, it's really simple. Own it. Like when you look at the world as just a place for you to just be yourself. I'm telling you, it's so much easier to be yourself than to pretend to be someone else. Because that someone else you're pretending to be. That's so confusing.
Because then you have people around you, if you're pretending to be somebody, and like you're not really that person,
100%.
and then you're attracting people that you're really not that person, and so you're like, I'm not really connecting. It's like surface level. It's like you see those like usually. I mean, it's not always the case. Like with rich people, like they're like, oh, like I like your shoes, Karen, and like yeah, I like your shoes too, and they're like, oh, I fucking hate them.
Yeah, literally.
Like, but that versus me, it's like, dude, like your shoes are ugly, huh? Like
I actually like it. Like those Converses are leather, like that's trash.
It would be like honestly,
and the people literally laugh, like
and like that. The best relationships are where you can actually like bust people with like horns, you know,
literally,
like shoot shots,
bust their shots, man, and then
be like, do you even hit legs? Do you
hit
legs?
Yeah, do you trade legs? It's true though, but you're right. Like it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious.
That's what you could tell someone's really good friendships is like when you're just crapping on them. If
they can take it,
and like the whole conversation usually just crapping on them. Like, those are the best friends. And like, do you guys even like each other? I'm like, oh yeah, I love it.
We love each other.
Because someone else says that to him, I kick the crap out of them.
Literally.
But like I can say it because I've known him for 20 years, you know. So I think that's where I think you got to be your true self and be okay with being your true self.
Yeah.
And it might take a little time to find your people.
It will take time.
But it's worth the wait. Because I went probably 4 years before I found the group of guys who I have now. And I have the best group of guys I have around me now since I had like high school or college.
Yes, you do.
And it's weird. It's a new experience.
Yeah. It's a new fresh.
It's a new chapter.
It's so fresh. Like it's like wow. Like dude, this is wild. I don't know where this.
It's crazy. Like I'm like trying to like be respectful of people's times. I'm like making plans. Like I can't take on too much. It's like it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's like again it's momentum though, and I think it's also doing things. It's all about also acquiring like good friendships. I think you gotta do things for other people and expect nothing.
altruism.
Nothing in return. Nothing. Because I think if you're going in a relationship and you're like, this is going to be a 50-50 exchange. I'm going to give you $50. I expect $50 in return.
Ridiculous.
If you go with that expectation, you're going to fail.
That's ridiculous, too, to even go in, like...
A lot of people do that,
When you go into relationships, it should be like, you know what? This person, either I'm fascinated by them, I see a quality in their life that's, like, very admirable, and I'm interested in, like, you know, and being a friend of theirs. And then as you all talk, you all spend time together, their true character will show itself. But it's very important for you to give them that trial phase to kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and like if you go in a relationship like where it's like, okay, if I give AD like this much, I should get this much in return at least. Like if you go with that, like that's
ridiculous though.
But I know people
it's
that
very
go in
transactional.
and it's like
right?
and like I've heard people in conversations like, yeah, like I gave this person this much and like they're not giving me like enough back or like whatever. It's like my relationships that I'm currently in, it's like I give and I don't. If I get something back, great. If I don't care. It's like I'm giving because I want to.
Exactly.
I'm not giving because I'm expecting something in
100%.
return. So I think you got to find within yourself, like, again, be authentically yourself. Find your people and like give into
also,
somebody.
you don't feel like you're giving when you're around people that share common interests with you.
No.
It's just a collective kind of like it really feels like you're all bringing something to the table.
Yeah.
Which is, but again, it will feel like you're giving
if it's not your people.
Exactly.
It's like and
it's like bro, like I don't even want to spend time with them.
But
I
that's
gave
even
them all
cross
that stuff.
Like
no, but I'm saying that like I can imagine someone has that mentality.
And I think a lot of people again that goes into, like when people are trying to foster relationships early on, if like flattery, brown nosing, like doing that,
trying to get something from someone.
Yeah.
And as soon as that person doesn't have that thing anymore, you just like ghost.
Yeah. And I think that's you're never gonna have real fulfilled relationships in that scenario.
Dude, it's so interesting how this conversation went because like relationships are so important to like our experience and even to our self growth.
You need relationships.
But it's so. As we talk about it, I realize like there's a lot of people out there who unfortunately are missing out on this great experience in relationships. Like it's actually kind of scary.
It's sad.
That like as you kind of broke down like the staying at home, the Uber Eats, the way it's all set up. We're set up so that we're marketed to by Uber Eats, by Amazon to just buy.
You don't have to leave
everything.
your house.
You don't have to leave your house.
Nothing.
Then you can't interact with your neighbor next door, so you get stuck in your own beliefs. Stuck, whether false or true. Even your financial knowledge that can be very helpful to people in your neighborhood, you keep it to. It's like almost like just isolating so many people, and it's like depression is going through the roof, isolation is going through the roof, like mental illness is going through the roof. There's a lot of stuff that's happening,
and it's not talked about enough because like again with COVID we saw like again there was isolation at its peak, and we never really got out of that.
Yes,
and so that's the problem.
It was a mass exodus.
Yeah.
Into isolation.
And we're seeing the repercussions now of like people like the loneliest ever, like single people, like people not in relationships, like people not having like connection with people, feeling depressed, down. SSRIs are giving out like candy. Like it's crazy. But no one's really talking about the root issue. It's like, oh, okay, I feel sad and lonely. It's like, okay, well, take this drug and you'll feel better.
Golly.
But it's like, hey, maybe get outside your house, go on a walk somewhere, like join a group, like get out of your comfort zone. It's because it's the harder thing. Because it's easy to take the pill. It's easy. Trust me.
Why don't you go in?
It's easy, but it's easy. It's hard though if you're isolated. You don't know anybody to go in. Join the meetup or the whatever group. You walk into a new setting. You don't know anybody. It's scary.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, like I feel isolated. But one, you'll build self-esteem with yourself and self-confidence. And I guarantee if you go to one of those like meetups or something, those people are so receptive.
Yeah,
or
and other people are nervous too.
Yeah,
other people are super nervous too. That's the funny thing.
It's cool and like and I feel like it's good though because and also people like you're feeling like the butterflies and nerves. Those are good feelings. Like and again with the drugs, it numbs those feelings.
Yeah,
and you might not feel anything.
And after a long period of time, even after you get off the drugs, you're kind of in that state.
Yeah.
So I think I wanted to end on the note of like anyone out there who you're currently taking like you're taking drug that's prescribed by your psychiatrist or things like that for like what you're going through in terms of depression and stuff like obviously like continue like in terms of the guidance of your medical professional, but like also make an effort to like have genuine interactions with people around you, because like that's so important for you to find your people. And not only find your people, find people that are positive influences in your life. Don't find people that are going to use you, or people who caused the trauma in your life that like kind of pulled you in that hole. Like really put yourself out there to people that you know that you're in good hands, and don't feel like you're not worthy of being in their presence. Because that's another thing that some people deal with. They feel like, oh, they're so much better than me and all this thing. They have their stuff together. I feel like I'm a sob story. Don't feel like that way, because it's like, again, you need to spend more time with people and be out there, and it's a breath of fresh air to just spend time with people. And don't feel like you're a burden to them, because you're not a burden to them. They probably don't even know what you're going through. So it's like very important for you to like put yourself out there and build your comfort with them so you can share with them. And you'll be surprised how much liberation you get from that.
And I think you made a very good point about being conscious of the people that you do surround yourself. Because you hang around and foster relationships with people that make you feel worse, or like are just negative influence in your life. And it's hard, especially if you grew up in that environment where it's just negativity, trauma, abuse, whatever. So I will put it out there that, again, that's not everybody. I think majority of people are better than good, but there still is bad out there.
Yeah, there is, man.
There's good and evil. There's God, there's devil. There's always a balancing force out there of good and bad. But I wouldn't say to challenge yourself and to realize that there are good people out there, and latch on those people and reach out. Check in on them. You don't know, like, you know, I also, our listeners, check in on your network of people.
Please do.
Just, it's good to just check in on old friends, anybody's, any simple text.
If someone posts something on their story that just seems out of pocket, you have a gut reaction like, like, this is weird. Like, so-and-so would never post something like this. Like, just give them a call. Just give them a call and just be like, hey, like, just thought about you. How are you doing? How's everything? Just want to check in. If you have time, hey, can I stop by your house later? I'll bring some, you know, I'll bring some
protein.
Yeah, bring some. Yeah, exactly. I'll bring some food over.
Bring the bison.
Yeah, literally, like, you know, like don't just live this experience on your own and like leave people to their own devices.
Mm-hmm. And even if you're suffering yourself from depression and stuff, what I realized the best way to get out of it is actually like trying to help someone else.
Literally.
So that could be community service, like volunteering at a soup kitchen or volunteering at something else. Like, get out of yourself.
Don't stay in your bed all day.
Yeah, like the best thing to do is get out of yourself into a conversation, into an activity, into helping somebody.
Get active. Move.
Sunlight.
Move your body.
Move. Sunlight. Hydrate. Eat good food. Those are sleep well. Like, those are the basic. And they all tie together, because if you're not getting sunlight, if you're not eating good, if you're on a screen, you're probably not sleeping good.
Yes.
Because you're just like, you're not exercising, so you're not tired, or you're not getting sunlight, so your circadian rhythm's all messed up. So it all ties together. It's like, okay, wake up in the morning, get outside, go for a walk. Okay, hydrate, eat good food, move your body, go to sleep at a normal time, wake up at the same time. You know, it's like, stay off, especially if you're like a partier and you feel down, depressed.
Yeah.
Alcohol's a depressant. Those drugs, they bring you up and down. It's like it's a seesaw. So avoid that stuff. Again, good food, good things that like are positive. I mean, become addicted to good things.
Yes.
I think people like, so if you're a partier and like you're addicted to going out Friday, Saturday night and getting plastered and like going out with your friends, and that's like what you look forward to, and like it's not like, okay, Friday and Saturday night you don't do anything. I don't think that's good. Like, can you be like, okay, I'm bored or I'm lonely?
You gotta spend time with people, because I think you were more excited to spend time with your friends than get blackout drunk. Because if that wasn't the case, you'd be getting blackout drunk Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night on your own.
Mm-hmm. So then, like AD's point, like, okay, find other guys, or maybe even suggest to your friends, like, hey, like, instead of us going out Friday night, let's play Madden or let's play Monopoly. Let's just chill in, like. And again, if drinking's your thing, you have a few drinks or something, if that's your thing. But I think it's okay.
There's other things to do.
It's okay to be the odd one out too of the group, and like be like, hey, like, how about we do something that instead of we're gonna, Saturday we go to brunch and booze, let's go for a hike together. You know, like, that'd be cool. Like, let's go.
There's so many other events you gotta get.
I think the problem is so much of our culture and so much of our programming of socializing is just going out and getting drunk, and it's tough. Because like that's what it's like. Okay, you want to meet people, you go to a bar. You want to go out and have a good time with friends, you go to the bar. You know, like it's just like it's so programmed in us to do that, and so it's tough. But be the odd man out. So like, hey, now like let's go for a hike. Let's do something out of the box. It doesn't mean you can't do the other things too. Maybe you go for a hike all day and you're like, we'll go to the bar later, but like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired. Like, I'm just gonna
you're probably not gonna want to go to the bar.
Yeah, you know. So it's
hey, some people might. But yeah, like that's actually a very interesting point. Like, be the odd one out.
It's because embrace it. It's
embrace it. It's like you already feel like that's what you want to do. You go for it.
Do it, yeah.
You know?
And like, and own it. Comes to own it too. And I think like being the odd person out is kind of cool.
I personally like it.
Yeah, because I've always was the odd person out, and I love it.
I don't care, man. People call it odd one out, odd in out. Hey, man, like.
Why would you
I
know
what I want. I know what I want. I was uniquely made. I'm different. Like, and I'm okay
why would
with
you want
that.
to be like everybody?
And I'm okay like that. I'm 100% okay with being in my own skin.
Like, who would want to? Why would you want to be like everybody else? That's no fun.
But that's kind of like what people are conditioned to.
Yeah, and I would be hopeful. Like, if you're like, hey, there's no one like me. No one likes to work out all the time. No one likes to eat well. No one likes to like not drink. Okay, maybe not in your immediate vicinity, but branch out.
Literally.
Like us, we don't, you know.
Reach out to us, man. Just leave a comment.
Yeah.
Leave your name, your Instagram tag. Like, we'll reach out to you. Like, listen, like,
in Jersey,
I don't mind. Like,
yeah,
we'll FaceTime you while we're working out if you have to. Like, hey, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Collab. I don't know. Like, come spend time with us.
No, it's cool. And again, embrace the discomfort. Take the leap. Make the first move. That's for me. For you, it seems like it's pretty natural. For me, it wasn't. But if you're thinking about doing it, just do it.
Literally, just do it. It's just like Nike says, just do it.
Just do it.
But I appreciate you all coming into our episode today. You know, it was very interesting unpacking relationships, and kind of talk like like me and Tom, we're having these conversations anyway. So like it's cool to kind of have you all as flies on the wall. So appreciate everyone tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Smash that like button actually. Is to kind of boost our algorithm because we want to make sure that we get our content out to people who really need it. You know, there's like 7+ billion people out there in the world. Like, you never know who's going to need to hear this message. So if it definitely impacted you, or you realize there are some things to kind of take away from, smash that like button, comment, let us know. Let us know what you felt like really resonated with you, what content you want us to talk about, what topic you want us to talk about next. And we really, really do appreciate you tuning in.
Yep, and the 2 people that comment relationships, the first 2 people that comment will send you samples of Apollo Fuel. So just comment relationships, and then we'll get in contact, and we'll ship it right out to you.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank y'all. Be well.
Peace. 1 hour and 13 minutes.